What's up, brothers and sisters? It's your brother G World 7_D. Now, right here, I had the third installment of the late Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. They came before Columbus, which is Early America Revisited. Now, I showed you this book before, but I didn't read out of it. As you see right here, this is from one of the Olmec heads. And this is the type of hairstyle that you see black brothers and sisters in America particularly wearing to this very day. Now, even though in this book he talks about African stuff, but I'm going to tie it into some other stuff, all right? I want to say this before I start off with this, because it's not going to be a real long video. As I listen to certain things on YouTube and individuals on YouTube, I want brothers and sisters, all you brothers and sisters who study history and realize and who know that most of our people are already in Americas, stop wasting your time on those ignorant niggers who want to continue to believe they just came over in a slave ship. They are extremely ignorant. I have pity for them, really, because they are very ignorant. That Jabari character is one dumb clown, and he's been highly indoctrinated, and he teaches at a white university. Like I said, university is built by a bunch of black people who were enslaved, prisoners of war, stolen from black Indians' land. But since he's a foreigner himself, he's trying to make us foreigners to our own land. Same thing for that goofy Garfield, the stupid Amon-Ra squad, Sarnetta, Amarun Seti. These are idiots, man. They are very ignorant and they miseducating our people. They have not done no real research. I've been studying stuff for years, like I said. Do not listen to these niggers. Do not listen to them, because they'll have you going down the steps of hell. I said this over and over again. And that Dr. Ma'at chick, she's disingenuous when she made the statement talking about when Kincaid didn't find nothing and the Smithsonian said that he didn't work for them. The Smithsonian is noted to hire independent contractors to do work for them. And they have taken a lot of artifacts when it don't go along with their narrative and throw a lot of stuff in the Pacific or Atlantic Ocean, or just hide it and suppress that information. But yet she's going to go around and claim that Tutankhamun or the ancient Egyptians weren't in the Grand Canyon, where Tutankhamun was over in the Grand Canyon. And there's always been a joke of talking about Tutankhamun in Arizona. Even that stupid Steve Martin song, who mentioned Arizona and Tutankhamun, King Tut. The Egyptians were over in the Americas because you had the greatest Egyptian civilization here in the Americas. Now, I'm going to continue to say this, is that you're going to have to do your own research. You can't depend on mainstream Negroes because they have been highly indoctrinated and they're ignorant. When you hear people like Dr. Ma'at say statements like, those people are black, but they're not our black people, that is ignorant. That's just like saying the ancient Egyptians were black, but they weren't Negro black. So they were so-called black-skinned Caucasian. That makes no sense, but this is what a lot of white anthropologists, archaeologists, who, by the way, Jabari goes by. See, some of these Negroes either being totally disingenuous, or they're just ignorant to the facts and don't know the information. These are some highly indoctrinated, so-called educated buffoons that's running around. But we're going to have to study our true history. We're going to have to study it, man. Most of us were not brought over in a slave ship. I know that's hard for some of you Negroes to fathom, but listen, I'm telling you the truth. Most of our people were already here. Period. That's not up for discussion. Most of our people are already here. If you have so-called Negroes indigenous to all through Asia, Pacific, and Australia, so-called Africa, and in Europe, why in the hell you don't think they were here? Now I'm going to go into this book, Early America Revisited. Now I'm going to talk about certain things. I'm talking about sea selling through the sea. I've always emphasized that in my other books, my other videos, but I want to show you this. All right, now I want to read a little bit of this. All right, now he talks about, this is in Van Sertima's book. There are three major currents off the Atlantic coast of Africa that will carry a craft automatically, irresistibly, unless it has engines to break the almost magnetic pull of the water. One of the currents flows off the Cape Verde Islands, another off the Senegambia coast, the third off the southern coast of Africa. Okay, African boats of both ancient and medieval design have been tested on these currents and crossed the Atlantic successfully. Thor Heyerdahl, with the help of Baduma, boatmen on Lake Chad, rebuilt pre-Christian African craft, a papyrus reed boat, and crossed the Atlantic successfully. Hannes Linderman discovered that Africans had enormous dugouts as large as Viking ships. The Vikings were black themselves. The original Vikings were black. He tested one of these and made it to America in 52 days, 12 days less than Amerigo Vespucci, even though Vespucci left from equally favorable starting point on the African Atlantic coast. Dr. Alan Bombard rode a life raft from Casablanca in North Africa via the Canaries to Barbados in 1952 without stocking up with adequate supplies of food and water, with only a cloth net for small sea fauna, and a fishing line with hook for tinning, and 2 spears. He also carried a container for collecting water when the rain fell. He survived in perfect health. African boatmen from Lake Chad built an ancient papyrus reed boat along the pattern of ancient Egyptians. Thor Heyerdahl financed this experiment since he was aware of the Africans were using these types of boats long before Christ. He bought 12 tons of papyrus reed to carry out this experiment. Its success startled the world. Heyerdahl made one mistake. He had advised the Buduma to alter the ancient rudder. All seemed to go well until they neared Barbados, when the Ra listed and went into drift mode. But this mistake merely slowed them down. The Buduma sailed into the New World on the ancient craft without assistance. You're talking about worldwide currents. Emphasizing Atlantic drift routes, Africa to America. But he's talking about Africa. I'm trying to make a point right here. All right, and this was a papyrus reed boat. Heyerdahl Ra 1 built African boatmen from Lake Chad built this papyrus boat along the pattern of the ancient Egyptians. It left North Africa in 1969 and sailed as far as Barbados. And here's what you call an East African trading boat. A ship of great antiquity sailed the Indian River between Africa and China, held together not by nails, by palm fiber lashings. These ships, and repeat, held together not by nails, by palm fiber lashings. These ships could be as large as 70 tons. The one shown here is from a model in the Fort Jesus Museum in Mombasa. The Swahili transshipped an elephant to China in the 13th century. Okay, and it's going to talk about the Africans also had trading ships that sailed the Indian Ocean between East Africa and China. 2 centuries before Columbus set sail for the New World on the Santa Maria, if he existed. I present a model of an East African trading ship of great antiquity. It sailed the Indian Ocean between Africa and China, held together not by nails but by palm fiber lashings. These ships could be as heavy as 70 tons. The one I show here is from a model in Fort Jesus Museum in Mombasa. There is also an iconographic evidence that is evidence of the African image in paintings and sculptures of pre-Columbian Mexico. This for me was the most pervasive, although the very last for me to discover. I had read the works of Leo Weiner. In fact, that was the only thing I read, and this by sheer accident during a brief weekend in America 27 years ago. I was only partially impressed. It could not shake the stubborn Eurocentric image I had of the African, and image partially shattered by my actual experience in Africa, yet so constantly consolidated by my colonial past from my British education. All right, I'm going to stop right there. He's talking about Africa. But my main emphasis is that I showed you before black folks in other land building boats. A lot of the boats are built for different reasons. Some of them may be built for like short distance fishing, short distance travel through river channels. He had some for long distance travel. Right there was talking about papyrus boats, but they also had wooden ships. I showed that in other videos before, how the Egyptians had wooden ships. I also talking about how the emphasis of boat making was very prominent amongst the black people globally, especially in Americas, where they traveled through the different river terrain. Different river terrains, they use different type of boats and different types of ships to travel within America and outside, leaving America, doing deep sea travel. That was done. When you hear these dumbass Pan-Africans, man, telling you that the first so-called black people here in America in the 1500s came with the Spaniards, the conquistadors, right there tell me these assholes don't know what the hell they're talking about. Or they want to sit there and say that the first time we came here in 1619, there's no proof of so-called black people here that, quote, Mongoloid people were here. The asinine statements said by these clowns are insulting. All right? This is an old book by Dr. Van Sertima. All right? This is called Early America Revisited. Like I said, it's the third edition from this book right here. This is the second edition, African Presence in Early America. All right, and then they came before Columbus, and then he had a fourth one reply to my critics. All right, they came before Columbus. I believe that was done by Random House. Is it Random House? One of those book places. That is still a publication. This is done by Transaction Books. It was a smaller publication, and you look at the price that I have on it. This is $20, so that's when I got it. This one is $15. That's when I got it. All right, so I got this in the '90s. But what I'm telling you is that a lot of this information has always been out there, man, but it's been totally suppressed. See, a lot of those clowns like Jabari don't think most people read this information. Like I said, I come from a line of educators in my family, so I know what they're reciting and kicking this BS. That idiot wants to deny that our people were indigenous here. Once you look at the Americas, you have the so-called Mandingo imprint all over America, but they weren't the only black people. There's various different types of so-called black melanated groups in America. It wasn't just one type. Our hair textures would vary in America. We have very different hair texture, very different skin complexion. We have always had that. We did not come in one type of physical structure, physical shape. That is what some of you get caught up at and brainwashed with, because that's how these white people are able to hijack and steal your history. So when I hear these Pan-Africans continue to tell you that majority of people came here as slaves in 1619, that's wrong. And they keep pushing a 400-year period. 1619 and 1964 is not 400 years. They'll get to 400 years between 19. So they keep reciting some mess that they learn at these white races or these Negro institutions, which is a lie. You had black empires already here, like I said. You had black empires here, like I said in other videos, where they were smelting iron. They had furnaces in their mounds. They carved into rock, as you see with the Anasazi. They built structures all over North and South Americas. So why are we debating this? This is not up for debate. Most of us were not brought over on a ship. Like I said, we were already here. We were we're the descendants of the black people who built the empires here. There weren't many slaves brought over here. There weren't no damn 20 million slaves brought to North America. Like one of those idiots from the Amara Squad said. Those are idiots, man. But these clowns don't think you do research. That's why I say it's very important for you to do your research. Do not, and I beg of you, brothers and sisters, do not listen to Pan-Africans, man. I beg of you, and I'm telling you this again, do not, I repeat, do not listen to Jabari. Do not listen to the Amara Squad. Do not listen to Sarah Sudan City. Do not, specifically, do not listen to what that idiot Umar Johnson has to say. I showed those black people in the Philippines who had boats. You have black people in ancient Australia, and still to this very day, who built boats. Boat making, shipbuilding, traveling in the seas was something that black people did globally. This is old news. But unfortunately, Negroes believe that you was landlocked and you got on the Love Broke cruise or the Gilligan Islands tour and got lost and came into the Americas. That's how dumb some of these Negroes are, and that's how they've been miseducated in this education system. And they claim to be smart and intelligent because they have some damn titles after their damn name or some letters after their damn name, but they only show how stupid they really are because they have not done the damn research. Majority of our people were already over here. We are the true Indians. I said this before. Those other people are a mixture of so-called white, Australoid black, Khoisan black, and they heavily mixed, and they come out today as the so-called paler Asians. That's who they are. They're not the indigenous people here. The original people who look like them, who are over here, were of melanated skin tone with woolly hair or wavy straight hair. They'll be sitting in the back of the bus in 1954. Wake up and learn your true history, man. This information is in your face. Trust me. These names just give it away. Like I told you, I'm handing you talking about a Timbuktu over in Jersey, a Timbuktu in California, a Malibu in California, a Timbuktu in Mexico. Damn, this is in your face, man. It's right in your face, man. This information is in your face, man. This is not coincidence. Or you can say it's coincidence then, but this is not by mistake. This is not by mistake. The information is right there under your fingertips once you do your research. It's right there under your fingertips, man. This is no excuse. I'm serious. At this time, it's no excuse. And anyone who's telling you anything opposite about who the original people in Americas were is a clown, is a sellout, is a traitor, is a pompous idiot. I'm being honest with you, man. I'm being kind with those words. We were already here. We did not need so-called white folks who couldn't read or write. We had to learn that stuff from black folks, melanated people. And they also learned how to do deep sea sailing from so-called Negro people. And they acquired the maps from Negro. So when they acquire maps from so-called Negro people, black people, what did that tell you? That so-called black people were selling around the world any damn way. Do not listen to these academic, pompous jackasses. I beg of you, brothers and sisters, do not listen to them because they give you misinformation. They always talking about DNA. I said before in one of my earlier videos, or just my past video, you're always being traced to a country that didn't exist. So when you so-called trace some African tribe, you traced to a so-called tribe who's probably just came together the last 100 years in a country like Nigeria named after Lady Lagarde, a white woman. She wrote the book A Tropical Dependency. A Tropical Dependency. let me tell you something, brothers and sisters, man. I want you to continue to seek that knowledge. I got so many books dealing with Aboriginal blacks here in America, man. Our true history. And I'm going to bring some of them up in the future. Talk about them. But I want you to realize there are people who have been paid to distract, to deflect from the real truth of our history. There are people out there who are doing that, man. and they don't give a damn. They want to live a lie, or they want to live their African little mythical dream. I tell them this: I will buy their airplane ticket. No, better yet, I give them the recreation of their little boat ride back to Africa, because these Negroes are very dangerous because they continue or want to miseducate our people. And then I hear some of these African female YouTubers telling us who we are. I think you're overstepping your boundaries. Stop that. That's very disrespectful what you're doing. You are out of your place, and you're making a big mistake doing that. We are Aboriginal to this land. And it's not about hating so-called other groups. It's taking pride in who we really are. And like I said in my other videos, there's always a cross-pollination of black people globally. But so many of us refuse to study this. We just want to be slaves from Africa. That is the most ridiculous nonsense I've ever heard, man. There's too much information that counters that, man. Stop giving your culture, stop saying some pale Mongolian people were the original people here. The original so-called Mongolian people look like Wesley Snipes. That's how quote melanated they were. And we really have to stop this deep-seated hatred, man. These Negroes, we're going to have to basically kindly escort their ass out of our communities, man. Because they got to go. We've been here. This is your land. We claim your history. We've been here. All right, brothers and sisters, I love you. I wasn't expecting to do it this long. But that's cool. All right, brothers and sisters, I love you. Peace.